Hello, Faith family. Welcome to this week's home church. In Matthew chapter 11, verse 28, the Message version of the Bible paraphrases the words of Jesus, and he asks us this question: Are you tired? Are you worn out? Let me ask you, are you? We have a lot of different kind of tireds that when we say I'm tired, we refer to a lot of different things. Some of us right now, we're tired. We're tired of the pandemic. We're tired of the lockdown, tired of social distancing, tired of cancellations. We're that kind of tired. And listen, while that kind of tired is understandable today, totally understand. That's not actually the kind of tired I want to talk to you about today. Here we are on this Memorial Day weekend, and a weekend where most of us, we kind of get a little break from the rush of the schedule and all that. Like things are a bit different usually on this weekend. It's a holiday, so we get a little break. We get a little rest. And I find it interesting that this year, man, things are a bit different, right? For most people over the last couple months, things have slowed way down with the cancellation of a ton of different activities, and our schedules have opened up. But then for others, it's actually gotten busier. I mean, as we're trying to balance working from home and new tasks and new ways that we have to do things and procedures and policies, and then try to school our kids from home and still try to work from home, like things have actually gotten busier and crazier for you. Now, regardless of what camp you fall into as a people, as a society, we are so on the go. I mean, we are a go, 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 go kind of people. As a matter of fact, it turns out that when you ask people, how you doing? After you get past kind of the generic, kind of the flippant, okay, I'm fine, good kind of answer, the most popular answer given is, I'm tired. I'm tired. I mean, I'm exhausted. Or it's a variation of that, right? I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm so tired, I'm burned out. It's that kind of thing. Or a variation of that is this: I'm busy. Busy. Which just so you know, busy is just I'm tired, or busy is I'm getting ready to be tired, right? I have so much to do, I'm anticipating that I'm going to be tired again. And all the answers are from there, right? It's I'm tired, I'm so tired, I'm exhausted, busy, so busy, crazy busy, I'm slammed, I'm exhausted. My favorite response from somebody when I asked, how you doing? They just looked at me and said, I just can't. I mean, like, I don't even have the energy to answer your question. I just can't. I can't even engage in this right now. And listen, that's most of us. We feel that. Let me just do a fun little quiz with you to see how busy you are in your life right now, right? So wherever you are, this will be fun. Wherever you are, if you identify with this, if the answer is yes for you, wherever you are, I want you to raise your hand. I don't care if you're in your car listening. I don't care if you're at home by yourself or with the family. Here we go. Honesty time to raise your hand. Okay, so see how these line up with you. Number one, I've cut through a gas station to avoid stopping at a red light. Here's what I need you to know. My arm is up. Yes. So busy, I can't be bothered with this intersection. I'm cutting through. I've got places to be. Yep, my hand is up. Number two, I don't like to take vacations where there isn't something to do. Like, your idea of a vacation is a clipboard and a checklist and a schedule. It is not sleeping in, relaxing, laying down. You got to be on the move. Got to be going. Got to be going. Number three, I frequently look at my phone for no apparent reason. I'm not doing anything, so I pick it up and I got to look at it. Got to touch it. Got to have it. Got to be engaged with it. Yep. Been there. People who talk slowly irritate me. Yes. And some of you think I'm that person. I'm not. I just use a lot of words sometimes. to get the message across. But talking slowly, slow talkers, whoa, can't deal with it. How about this? At the store, I often switch lanes because the one I'm in is too slow. Yeah, been there, done that. I'm eyeballing every single line, judging everyone to figure out who's going to be the fastest. Yeah. And going along with that, maybe this is you. I believe that God makes whichever line I'm in the slowest. Yep. Yeah, I've definitely felt that before. How about this? When I go to sleep, my mind often rehearses all the things that I haven't gotten done that day or all the things I still have to do tomorrow. Yeah, mind racing. How about this? I have a difficulty finding time to do things like pay the bills or go to the doctor. Yep. Last one is this. I feel compelled to leave church early because I want to beat the traffic and the wait at the restaurant. Go ahead, raise your hands. I see you. I see you. I see you every Sunday. I know. And guess what? God sees you too. Yeah, I'll just leave it right there, right? we feel this. Our lives are on the go, on the go. And in this series, what we've been doing is we've been talking about and looking at our emotions. And this week, the emotion or the topic that we want to look at is being tired. Now, I know that tired isn't exactly an emotion, but what we could all agree on is that when we are tired, when we are exhausted, it leads to all kinds of other emotions, right? That like being busy and exhausted leaves us vulnerable to all kinds of other emotions. And we want to be free from them. Things like depression and anxiety and irritability, right? All of these different things that mount up, and we know that being tired is almost this gateway to a host of other emotions. And so we, in our series, have been going through the Psalms and looking at the Psalms that David wrote. And what we've found is that David deals with his emotions. And David doesn't just give us like 5 tips to dealing with a certain emotion. Instead, he invites us along on his journey. He invites us in on the vehicle of his emotion and says, hey, here's the road I took. You want to travel with me? And as we watch David process through his emotions, we've been able to process through ours. And so today I want to look at probably one of the most famous of the Psalms, Psalm 23. And actually what I want to do is I just want to focus in on the first couple lines, because I think the first couple lines are so powerful that if we get them, the rest of the Psalm falls right into place and our entire life really falls into place. So let's do it. Psalm 23, first couple lines. The Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters, and he refreshes my soul. Now, I don't know about you, but that didn't quite feel right. So let's do this. Would you just take a deep breath with me? Let's read it one more time. The Lord is my shepherd, and I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. What a difference, right? David says, the Lord is my shepherd. If God is the shepherd, what does that make David? It makes David a sheep. That's not an especially flattering creature. As a matter of fact, a sheep is completely dependent upon the shepherd. And I think this is exactly where we need to start if we really want to find a rhythm of rest in our lives. It starts right here, recognizing that we're not the shepherd. We've got to stop living our lives as though we're the shepherd. Like it all depends on me, and I've got to protect myself, and I've got to provide for myself, and I've got to make it happen. When we live our lives like we're the shepherd, we start carrying all kinds of weight that we were never meant to carry. And it's really hard to rest with all of that weight on our shoulders. And so David starts off reminding himself, I'm not the shepherd, I'm the sheep. And by doing this for you as well, in your life, declaring, recognizing, I'm not the shepherd. God is the shepherd. I'm the sheep. Really, what this is doing is it's crying out to God, and it's testifying that, man, I'm not God, he is God. And I need to rely on him. I trust him to take care of all the details of my life. I can release all of this to him. And in this place, David says, I lack nothing. It's interesting as we've been going through talking about our different emotions, and one thing that we've seen is that our emotions are like a vehicle, right? Like our emotions move us different places. And many of us have been taught or told that there are good emotions and bad emotions. There are right ways to feel and wrong ways to feel. What we've discovered is that our emotions are our emotions. And the better question to ask is, where are they taking us? Where is this vehicle, this emotion going to take us? And so we've been playing around with this vehicle. Now, this week, this vehicle idea, rather. And this week, I do have a specific vehicle, but it's not one of my own. I read a story in preparation for this message, and this fits perfectly. I read a story about a young kid who, back in 2004, this is when he bought his first car, and it was a brand new car, 2004 Mazda 3. And he bought this thing near the beginning of the year and was so excited. This was his first car, his first vehicle, was able to go out and get a brand new one, and it was amazing. But here's the crazy thing. By the end of the year, this vehicle was completely shot. Now, for those of you, you're going to say, well, because it's a Mazda. It had nothing to do with that. The reason this car was completely shot was this. He drove 24,000 miles and never changed the oil. I mean, this was this kid's first car, and I don't know if he just didn't know how to take care of it or what it was. But the problem was that he just kept going. He kept going. Now, for those of you who may not realize, like every 3,000 miles, you're supposed to take like a 10-minute break and $40, pay somebody, and they will change the oil in your car. Or for those of you mechanically inclined, you do it yourself, right? 10 minutes, $40, and you change the oil, and it keeps that engine running beautifully. But like, he didn't do that. And I don't know exactly why. I mean, this guy, according to the article I was reading, was a pretty smart guy. And sometimes for people who are smart, maybe sometimes that's the harder thing, is to say like, no, I know how to do this. I know how to take care of things. I don't need somebody else telling me what my car or my life needs. I've got this. Right? Like, I don't know. Or maybe he thought like the warning light on the dashboard was just like, I don't know, a suggestion. Like that applies to everybody else, but for me, like I know what I'm doing. I don't need this. So stop telling me what to do. Like I don't know if it was that. Maybe he thought, like I'm going through a lot right now and I just don't have time to stop and to do that. Like I really want to, and I will eventually, but now's not a good time for me. And so maybe he just thought, tomorrow I'll do that. I've got more. I don't have time today, but tomorrow I'll do that. And 24,000 miles later, the engine locks up and a $40 oil change becomes a $7,000 new engine. He may have, thought he knew better. He may have thought that, he would get to it eventually. He may have thought that, hey, the engine thing, the oil, that's true for everybody else, but not for me. But if he would have stopped for 10 minutes and $40, he would have saved himself a lot of money and a lot of time as that vehicle was getting fixed. And this is so true for us too. Listen, there is a sense where many of us think and operate in the same way with our life. Like sure, that may be true for everybody else, that they need a break and they need to rest and they need to Sabbath or whatever. But you know what? I just don't have time for that in my life right now. I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep driving. But what we find in Scripture is that God is the manufacturer. He gives us a rhythm for our life. He instructs us on our body and our life and our relationships and our soul. And as God has designed it, there is this rhythm that plays out. And part of this rhythm of our life, as God has designed it, is that there's to be a rhythm of rest, a certain kind of rest, not just a stopping of things, but a specific kind of rest that connects us to God. It replenishes our soul, even our physical body. And we see this start and we see this play out even at the very beginning of the Bible in Genesis. In Genesis chapter 1, and I would invite you to read that this week, maybe even today. Get alone, and here's what I would encourage you. Read it out loud. Read Genesis chapter 1, the creation account, out loud, because here's what you're going to find. It has a rhythm. It has a cadence. Like, it is poetic language written, and it has rhythm. There are these lines that kind of keep repeating. And God saw that it was good. And then there's another line, that there was morning and there was evening. And it almost acts like a chorus or a refrain. So every day, right, like day one, God creates. And then at the end of the day, he pauses and he reflects and sees that what he made was good. He rests. And then day two, God creates, and then at the end of the day, again, he pauses, he reflects, and he sees, oh man, this is good. And God continues this rhythm. And at the end, Genesis chapter 2, verse 3, it says this: he rested from all the work of creating that he had done. So on the seventh day, God takes an entire day to rest. So fast forward, as people fill the earth and he calls people to himself in Exodus, he establishes the law, these rules by which his people would live by. And he commands that his people would live by the same rhythm in their life. Why? Because he is the creator and the manufacturer, and he knows how we were created to operate best for us. So for them, there was this daily rhythm that they would work and live and move. Right? In the morning and throughout the day, there was these moments that they were commanded to pause and to pray, to reconnect with God. And then in the evenings, to share a meal together with their family and to pause, to reflect, and to pray. And then each week, there was an entire day set apart, a Sabbath day set apart so that they would rest from all of their work. They weren't allowed to work. It was a day to reconnect, to pray, to celebrate with their family and with God. They even had this not just on a daily basis and a weekly basis, but then throughout the year. God had established these different celebrations, these feasts that were designed for them to take another break from their normal busy life schedule, where they would connect with family and friends and the neighbors and the faith community coming together to celebrate, to rest together, celebrating that God is their shepherd and he takes care of us. He is the provider. We are the sheep dependent on him. And so we see how God sets up this rhythm and then instructs his people to follow it because he knows what is best for us. Now we can violate this rhythm, but it's all going to catch up with us if we don't. Now, for me in my home, I have 2 drummers in my house, and I know what rhythm sounds like. As a matter of fact, I've come to understand good rhythm and, well, just bad rhythm. We purchased a game in the middle of all of this shutdown and isolation and everything because we've been playing games at home together as a family. And Shireen found this fun game that was all based around keeping the rhythm. Like you had to keep this beat and this rhythm, and everybody plays a part in it. Now, my wife is a music major from college, and the boys are both drummers, and so then here I am. And so as we're playing this game, here's what I find out. I am the worst in my family at keeping a good rhythm. Everybody else, much better. And even both of my boys are better than Shireen and I. We're watching, we're there trying to clap along, keeping this beat, and all kinds of different things are happening. And before we know it, the game is over. My boys have won. Shireen and I have scored no points. Because every time we're playing this, I keep finding I'm off beat. I'm not with the rhythm. And I can't help but see that the same is so true for so many people around me. It's like they're living their lives off beat. There's no sense of rhythm. There's no sense of measured, well choreographed, good sounding music coming from their life. And sadly, this is even true among God's people. And God never meant for that to be the case. God has designed us and given us instructions in such a way that our lives are meant to be rhythmically beautiful. Like that there's a rhythm and a pattern in our life that makes sense, and it keeps us healthy. It keeps us, our soul just connected with Him. I think about it. Think about what life was like before COVID. For most of us, right? No evenings home with family. No real connection. No rest. No time for church. I mean, maybe once a month because, the kids, they've got a lot of things going on, and we got to get to the game, and we got to get to the restaurant, and this is the day where we go and we connect with these other people, and there's all the projects at home that we got to get done, and on and on and on. And I look around, and it's almost like everybody's just banging on things in random patterns. And nobody's life really feels like there's this rhythm, especially no rhythm of rest. And listen, I'm just as guilty. I can't tell you how many times in my life with Shireen, she has said something to the effect of me like, hey, you're going to work right now on your day off, right? Like, you're going to go and do these things, but this is supposed to be your day off. And I know, but this just has to get done. And look, this is just what the Lord has called me to. And it's not that big of a deal. Like it doesn't even feel like work, so it doesn't count. Like I've given all of those same excuses, like I know you have as well. The reasons why we won't rest, why we won't Sabbath. And over again in my life, and I'm guessing for yours as well, it looks an awful lot like a guy driving his vehicle 24,000 miles with no oil change. Maybe it's true for everybody else, but I'm good. I'll get it tomorrow. See, and then this COVID thing hit. And in the midst of all of this sickness and craziness, the world and the nations, right? They're going through this time of just this reset almost. It's interesting because in the midst of all of the chaos, there's this blessing where our schedules in our life are kind of hitting a reset. Like, have you felt that? Like schedules have opened up, family time, there's this refreshing. Certainly there's stress over a lot of things, and sicknesses, and people we know and love have gotten sick and maybe even passed away. But then at the same time, like in your own home, there feels like there's a different rhythm. And as I've talked to so many of you, it has been such a blessing just to be able to connect. Now, I know for some of you, your schedules, again, they've gotten more and more busy. And so maybe it's become even harder. But here's what I'm concerned for. That for those of us who have had this time where it feels like a reset, or even for those of you who things have been busy, as the world kind of opens up more and more, there's about to be a battle for our hearts, our time, our schedule, unlike what we've had for a long time. Like all of a sudden, very quickly, businesses and hobbies and sports and schedule, like everybody is going to want to try to make up for lost time. And there is going to be a temptation to fill your schedule more full than you ever had in the past. Because like, hey, we got to get all of the practices and we've missed a lot of time. So we got to get back to it and we got to step up our game. And there's a lot of things that are about to battle for your time. And unless we truly value rest, prioritize Sabbath, we are going to fall into this pattern where our engines are going to start locking up. The engine of our life, our soul, is going to lock up sooner or later. See, things in your life will lock up, and you'll pay a far greater price than you ever expected. Like, even if emotionally you think that you can handle a busy schedule and the go, go, go kind of thing, your body, your physical body can't keep up. And there comes a point where your body eventually just says, you know what? I'm done. I'm tapping out. And some of you have already experienced that. Our relationships, some of you have experienced this. You're tired and you're busy, and so you're irritable, and your schedule doesn't allow for certain things, and so you're snapping at people because you're frustrated, and you're running so fast, and you've left everyone else behind you, and nobody can catch up with you, and it just makes you more frustrated, and you're just on the go. So relationally, your life is a mess. And then we operate in this tired, busy model, and listen, I know it's affecting you spiritually. When you don't make time to connect with God, to truly be refreshed by Him, we all are left far more vulnerable to temptation. When we are on the go, and we don't pause, we don't stop to connect with our God, we start making horrible decisions in the midst of it all. We justify those decisions because I'm so busy and I need something. I got to do that, and we'll justify it all. And listen, you can take some time each day to Sabbath and rest and reconnect with God and family and your faith family. You can do this. To take time to get that oil changed. Or listen, it will catch up with you. God did not design your life to keep that kind of pace, carrying that kind of weight. You can just keep pressing forward. Look at the time we're making. We are moving here. But eventually the engine will lock up. It will come. This rhythm of rest that God created us to live within, it resets us physically. It renews us emotionally. It restores us relationally with those around us in our faith community, even our neighbors. Back to the opening lines of Psalm 23, it demonstrates that our faith is real to those around us. When we truly rest, when we truly take a break, and we just go, you know what? I gotta step back from all this. It is almost a testimony to those around us that, look, I recognize I'm not God. I've got to reconnect with Him. Sabbath actually shows that we actually believe what God is saying. And listen, I know that in a sermon like this, it's really easy for people to agree with everything I'm saying, like theoretically. Like, yeah, Chuck, absolutely. Like, totally. Taking a break, taking some time to rest and all that. Yeah, that totally makes sense. But like, I just don't have time for right now. But, like tomorrow, I'll get around to it. Because like right now, my schedule is slammed. And people think of Sabbath many times the same way that they think about their money. Like theoretically in my head, like it makes sense. Yeah, like God provides everything and I need to be able to give back to Him as an act of worship and trust Him with what I've been given by Him. And so yeah, like I'll do that, but like not today, because I mean today I've got a lot of things and the bank account doesn't really add up. So like I would love to do that, totally makes sense, but not now. And we do the same thing with rest. We do this with so many things. I know it's a struggle to trust God with our schedules, with our time, with all of these things. And God knew that it would be a struggle. So in Leviticus, God gives some instruction and promises about this Sabbath as part of their rhythm of Sabbath. Every 7 years, they were supposed to even give the ground a rest, right? So, okay, every day we have some time for Sabbath. Every week there's a time for Sabbath. Throughout the year, there are these moments of Sabbath. And then every 7 years, we even give the ground, the ground in an agricultural planting, farming kind of community. We give the ground a break every 7 years. And so they weren't supposed to plant anything. And listen, so if you're living your life based on harvesting the food that you planted, this is a huge risk, isn't it? Like, what do we do if we don't plant? That means the year that I plant, there's no food. And then the year that that's supposed to like I harvest, and then that would be the food for the year. There's no food that year. What am I supposed to do here? Well, look at what God tells them in Leviticus chapter 25. He knows that this is going to be a struggle, so he promises them that he's going to take care of them. Leviticus 25, starting verse 20. You may ask, well, what will we eat in the 7th year if we do not plant or harvest our crops? Sounds like us. What's going to happen if I don't, if I rest, if I do this, God, the way that you're telling me, what's going to happen? What am I supposed to do? I will send you such a blessing in the 6th year that the land will yield enough for 3 years. While you plant during the 8th year, you will eat from the old crop and will continue to eat from it until the harvest of the 9th year comes in. God's like, look, I know that this rhythm of rest for you, it doesn't make sense. And you're really worried about what's going to happen when you take this break, and what about all the things that we're supposed to get done. And here, for God's people, he just tells them, look, I got all the details worked out. You don't have to worry about it. Even something as huge as don't plant an entire crop for an entire year. God's like, I got this covered. I wouldn't command you to do something without making provision for you, because I'm the shepherd. I know how to take care of you. And so David recognizes this. So this is why in the opening lines of Psalm 23 says, the Lord is my shepherd, so I lack nothing. There's nothing in my life that I'm lacking because God is my shepherd taking care of me. And isn't this the heart of why you and I struggle to rest, to Sabbath? Because we think we're lacking something. Man, if I only had this thing, if I were only able to, and once I get, and once this desire of mine is met, then, okay, now I can finally rest. And for some of you, it's respect. It's status, it's position, it's recognition, it's a job, it's a child, it's a spouse. Once I get that thing that I've been wanting and searching for and longing for, once I finally get it, then I'll be able to breathe, yes. So in your heart, you believe you lack something. And because you lack this thing, it's really hard for you to rest. It's what we lack that really keeps us from resting. And listen, social media, it isn't helping. Because on social media, we just flick through page after page after page of seeing all the things that we're lacking. Because it's all an advertisement push of you need this in your life. You need this cream. You need this vacation. You need this hobby. You need this thing. And it's this constant barrage of this is what you lack. But when the Lord is my shepherd, I recognize that I lack nothing because he's got it under control. Continue on. He says, he makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters, and he refreshes my soul. The first line there. He makes me lie down. He makes me lie down? Like, that doesn't sound right. Like, we would expect he invites me to lay down. He calls me to lie down. No, David says, no, he makes me lay down. It kind of sounds like David got pushed. Like, no, you will lay down. Lay down. Right? You said that to your dog like that, lay down. You make them lay down. And here, it sounds like David is saying this is what God does to him too. And listen, it's true. When we violate the rhythm God has established in our life, God has designed things in such a way that life has a way of making us lay down. Like, you can lie down on your own, you can take a break on your own, or you're going to get knocked down. Like, that's kind of how it works. Like, if you don't allow for this rhythm of rest in your life, in this over busy, tired lives, listen, illness will become your Sabbath. If you don't allow for a season of rest, moments of rest and recuperating and connecting with God, guess what? Pneumonia will become your Sabbath. The flu will become your Sabbath. Our cancer, our heart attacks, our accidents they will be your Sabbath. They create Sabbath for us. Our bodies just can't handle it anymore, and physically we give out, and that's just it. We are knocked down, and our sickness becomes our Sabbath. It's almost like you can either stop and change the oil now, or you can keep driving, but eventually you're going to stop. One way or another, you're going to stop. This practice of the shepherd making sheep lie down is actually a really common one. I was reading about this, that sheep are, well, they're just kind of dumb sometimes. And they will just kind of keep eating and eating and eating, keep consuming and consuming and consuming. And the shepherd actually needs to make them lay down so that they will stop eating. If not, they get something called sheep bloat, which doesn't sound very medical, but it's really their bodies start to bloat up because they've overeaten so much, and that actually becomes very dangerous for them. So a good shepherd will make the sheep lie down. And for some of us, that's just us. We are consuming and consuming and consuming and never taking time to digest everything that's going on around us. Never taking time to just reflect. And listen, if you're looking for me to give you like 5 tips to do to have a better rest, like, I'm not going to do that today. It's not what David does. Because here's what you need to understand. Sabbath and rest is not about doing, it's about being. It's about you connecting with God and being exactly who He made you to be. It's connecting with Him, resting from the labors of your life, and just being in His presence. For most of us, that means not adding things to our schedule. It actually means taking things off so that we can recharge like David does. Look at what God is doing for David. Not what David is doing for God. In the language, he says, He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. It's everything that God is doing. David is just getting a break from things, putting himself in a position to remember, to realize, oh man, look at what God is doing for me. As I read this psalm and even envision this picture David is painting, I think of Jesus. I see Jesus finding this kind of rhythm of rest in his life, in the midst of, his life, the 3 years of incredibly busy ministry. Jesus purposes himself to rest. One moment we see that is Mark chapter 1, verse 35. In the midst of very busy ministry, it says this, very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and went off to a solitary place where he prayed. For Jesus, this rhythm of rest meant early in the morning, I get away. Listen, I don't know what time of day it is for you, but if we are going to establish this rhythm of rest in our life, it means daily you need a moment. You need a few moments where you just stop, you pause, you rest, you connect with God, you pray to Him, you remind yourself that He is the shepherd, you are not, that He has your life under control. What David says, in these moments, there's rest, that He replenishes us, that He revives us. He gives us exactly what we need. And then, throughout your week, like every week, there should be a day of Sabbath, just like God commanded. That each week there would be a day where you don't work. Like you are purposeful in not doing things that suck energy from you, but actually fill your life with purpose and meaning and value. Well, that means connecting to the shepherd. That means reconnecting with your faith family, with your community. And again, if you're looking for, okay, Chuck, what am I supposed to do? What are the things that I'm supposed to do? Or what are the things that I'm not supposed to do? Let me just give you 3 questions, and we're wrapping up here. Let me just give you 3 questions for what your Sabbath should look like. Does it replenish me physically? Does it restore me emotionally? And does it renew me spiritually? So, for those of you, so does that mean I should binge watch Netflix more? Well, I've binge watched many series, and I can tell you that doing that doesn't replenish me physically, and it doesn't restore me emotionally, and it doesn't renew me spiritually. So probably not. Does it mean that I should play even more video games? Well, does it fit within those questions? Does it replenish me physically? Does it restore me emotionally? Does it renew me spiritually? But for some of you, maybe that means mowing the grass. You just connect with God, you get on the mower and you walk, you ride, and you're just praying. Maybe for some of you, you sing on the mower. I like to do this. Nobody can hear me, right? Because the mower's loud, so I just sing and people just see my mouth moving, but they can't hear me. Maybe for some of you, it is going for a walk. Just getting the body moving, and you're aware of just your own body, and you're walking and you're talking with the Lord, you're communing with Him, and maybe it's a walk with the whole family. Maybe it's going to a park where you're taking in the beauty of God's creation, because you don't see the same birds, you don't see the same plants and the same things in your yard. Maybe for you, it is inviting some other people over and sharing in a great meal together and laughing and just enjoying each other's time. But listen, you get to choose what that time looks like. You don't. This is a time of refreshing. This is the time of joy. So you don't have to invite over like those people, because those people don't replenish your soul, right? But there are other people in your life who do. So make time for that. Also, let me say this. As God prescribes this rhythm of rest and reconnecting and replenishing and renewing with Him, He ordered that corporate worship, the gathering of His people, would be a normal part of that rhythm. And I know we have been away for a couple months, and we are looking forward to gathering with you again. But can I just encourage you to really consider this area of your Sabbath and challenge you to make the gathering of God's people in worship to Him a priority. Throughout Scripture, God has commanded His people to gather, to worship. And in the midst of that gathering, there is a blessing for us. There's something powerful that happens as we gather and we testify to His goodness and we share in in telling stories about what God is doing in our lives, and we encourage one another, we strengthen one another, and we share in the scriptures, and we share in communion together. In addition to all that, it is a testimony. Our corporate gathering is a testimony to the world that we believe God is our shepherd. We worship him and we trust him. And I want to encourage you, as we're getting ready to open things back up and the world is getting ready to try to take more and more time from you, to prioritize a rhythm of rest, a Sabbath, because you're not the shepherd, you're a sheep. And God has your life under control. And we don't need to fret, we don't need to fear, we don't need to run around and be so busy. There is no reason for your life to be so busy and for you to be so tired. If it is, it means you're operating as the shepherd. It's time for you to recognize that you're the sheep. So friends, today, may you find a few moments of rest. May you find just a moment to pause, to remind yourself that he is the good shepherd. For those of you who are readers, you're looking maybe for some bonus material. I recommended this in one of our Facebook Live things, but I want to just give it to you again. This is a book that I went through recently. John Eldredge, Get Your Life Back. And what he does is he just talks specifically about this idea of getting out of the busy, the chaos of everything that's going on. And one of the things he prescribes is just throughout your day, a 1 minute pause, to just take a break, to pause. And this is what I want to encourage us to do right now before we end everything. Would you just join me in a 1 minute pause? I'm going to stop and just take 1 minute to just pause from everything and just say, God, I need more of you in my life. Would you fill me with more of your presence? God, I give you everything and everyone in my life. I just give it all over to you. I just sit in your presence, remind myself of who you are. Just 1 minute. Do that right now. I love you so much, you guys. Can't wait to see you.